Hi guys and welcome back. Today we are talking about Aune Flamingo. That's a very small DAC headphone amplifier that has a trick up its sleeve. And if you're interested to know what it is, stay with me today and let's find out. So let's cover the basics first. In the back you can find two digital inputs, USB and coaxial SPDIF. And if that's all you need, Aune Flamingo for you can cost $229. But if you want a Bluetooth for wireless connectivity that supports LDAC and aptX HD, etc., you can opt for the Bluetooth version called Aune Flamingo BT that adds Bluetooth connectivity for $279. And in that case, you do get two different antennas. One small that we are usually seeing on these type of DACs, but also the external one with short cable and like longer and stronger antenna. I don't know where you personally stand on this topic, but I basically never need wireless connectivity. So I love the option for me to opt out of it and save $50 because everything else is the same. Sound quality, functionality, looks, build. Just if you do not need that Bluetooth, you do not have to pay for it. And I love the idea. And then talking about analog outs, in the back you can see a pair of unbalanced, those are single-ended RCAs. And that's it, there are no balanced outputs on this DAC. In front we see one 6.35 headphone output. But Flamingo does have a secret weapon, and it is this integrated tube that you can see. If you look from the front, it's very slick and slim, but if you look from the upside or just from the bottom, it's like completely open around this tube. There is a tube integrated here. And once we turn it on, it lights up and gets quite hot to the touch. So it's not smart to put your fingers on this tube while it's working. Just don't do that. By the way, the whole unit gets quite warm, but especially this tube part. That's why, by the way, it's opened in the bottom and up top so air can circulate and cool it. But the most interesting thing about it is that you can actually choose to use either operational amplifier output or tube output. And you can change that really simply by double-clicking this knob. And you hear the click, and you do it again. You hear another click, which means that you're switching from tube to operational amplifier and vice versa. And this works for both RCA line outputs in the back and headphone output in the front. Meaning that you have this really easy way of listening to operational amp and tube and deciding which one do you prefer. And I just wanted to mention that controls are done okay, and display is very readable with these big volume digits that I like. I also like the styling of this unit. It's a personal thing, I just wanted to say that. And the last thing that I wanted to mention is that Flamingo doesn't come with bundled remote, but you can purchase it separately if you wish to do that. And if you do it, it costs around $27-28 I think. And it's made completely out of aluminum, which just feels it's of a higher quality, it will last longer, and it just feels nicer and more premium than all these small plastic remotes that you get for free, I have to admit that, but this one really feels great. And personally, I would probably decide to go with a version without Bluetooth connectivity and then add a remote if I'm going to use it in my room setup. But for desktop use, it's really not necessary because everything is easily done from the device itself. And this leads me to how Aune Flamingo sounds. Today I'm not going to talk separately about its DAC section, which is line output on the back, and its headphone section, which is the headphone output in front. Because Aune Flamingo is one of those devices that works equally well for both of its outputs. And basically the tonality and the overall sound signature is shared for both of these outputs. Unlike some products on the market that have one superior to the other. So here you do get a very balanced experience across the outputs. Flamingo sounds a little bit softer and warmer and a little bit, I will say it, more analog-like than most modern DACs, especially at this price point. That is especially true for its tube output, but it's also true if you use op-amp. Even with it, it never sounded like too sharp or digital in any way. Now, clarity of the sound and detail retrieval is good. That's not lacking. This is not some like really warm and veiled kind of sound, not at all. But there is some sort of natural softness to tone edges, and the way it presents details in that sort of soft and also slightly warmish way that never feels sharp and edgy, and like it never bothers your ears. And when I listened to a few songs with it, and I wanted to see which mode I'm in and to switch from op-amp to tube and vice versa, I was surprised to find out that I was actually listening to the op-amp mode these first few songs, because it simply sounded very natural and unforced. And then I engaged the tube output, and to find out that in that case the difference is not huge by any means, but you do get even slightly warmer and slightly softer sound. It feels like all the tones received a thin film of gel that makes everything sound so bubbly safe. You know, like there is a sharp cymbal, it's going right for your ear, it will hurt you. No, because it's coated in a nice gel and it's like boom, 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 bouncy. That kind of tonality, with especially when you account a very rich, filled with texture mid-range, and everything is okay with the bass line and highs. Highs are well extended, bass line is reasonably weighty, and it's well controlled too, it's quite grippy. But the mid-range is so nice and rich and just lush that, especially in that tube mode, it just pushed me to listen to vocals and to some nice acoustic songs like this one, for example. So I enjoyed that very, very much. And then I played a little bit with digital filters, and filter number 1 is on by default, that's apodizing fast, and you can play with these yourself. But once I entered filter number 3, that's linear slow, I believe, that was the maximum warmth and that gel-coated sound that I've heard from this DAC. And with some songs, with some female vocals, I was like, wow, this sounds so good, I'm in heaven. But with some maybe faster paced songs, whereas like being snappy and fast in terms of timing, that was maybe a little bit softer than I would like it to be. But hey, it's easily fixable. Just change your filter to maybe fast linear, switch to op-amp instead of tube, and voila, you have faster paced sound that starts and stops quicker and has a little bit less of that warmth and that reverberant tone quality, that gel coating that both slow filter and tubes are bringing to the sound. Next, I did a quick comparison, first with SMSL C200, which is a really nice DAC/amp combination for 220, I believe the current pricing is. And when switching between these two, I noticed that SMSL sounds a little bit more analytical, in terms that tones with C200 start and stop a little bit quicker. But Also, it feels like that tone decay is ended also a little bit quicker. So the overall presentation is slightly drier. And here you should know that C200 is not analytical or dry sounding by itself by any means. There are much more analytical and dry sounding devices at this price point. For example, Topping DX3 Pro Plus or something like that. That's very, very incisive but very analytical and dry sounding. SMSL is not. It's just a pretty nicely balanced sounding device, maybe even slightly warmer in the bass line and the mid bass. And Aune Flamingo, when it comes to that bassline section, it's like equally warm and full and weighty. It's not much different from C200. But then when it comes to the mid-range, it feels that Flamingo offers slightly richer tone timbre. And also inner tone texture feels a little bit richer, while at the same time it sounds a bit more natural and smoother. That said, C200 does separate tones better. It has better timing, but music does sound a little bit more reverberant through Aune. And that's even true if you are using op-amp on Flamingo. But it is especially true if you are using tube output. And I don't know, if I was listening to something really fast-paced with plenty of tiny details happening and, quick tones, like this for example, I maybe slightly preferred C200, but actually in most songs that I usually listen, like day to day, something slow and acoustic quite often with rich vocals, I actually thought that Flamingo sounds richer and just more natural, and I enjoyed it more. So I would say that C200 is slightly more technical, it separates tones a little bit better, and it maybe sounds even wider a little bit. But Flamingo here is not far behind in terms of technicalities. They're up there, quite close, but it has more of that smooth, easygoing tonality with more reverb with tones, and whereas SMSL can sometimes in those upper frequencies sound a little bit sharp and dryish. Flamingo has that, as I explained, that gel-coated thing going on. That gel is transparent, you can still hear lots of details and lots of stuff happening in the recording, but everything is slightly softer and bouncier and a little bit just juicier, but not in terms that it has more bass, but just, that tones themselves, no matter their frequency, are blooming a little bit more. Then my last comparison was with Topping E30 L30 II stack, and this one is noticeably more powerful. If you want to drive like heavy loads, this one has more grunt and more kick. It's also darker up top, so in terms of just airiness and that atmospheric high frequency feel, Aune is actually more open, slightly brighter, whereas Topping stack sounds kinda darker, and it also does have darker background. It feels like tones are emerging from that darkness. They're also more analytical, but somehow cleaner sounding. And if you're after that technical aspect, that really dark background, clean, crisp tones, very fast, precise, bassline is very punchy, also slightly warmer and beefier than I would call perfectly neutral with this Topping stack, but it does not have that richness of tone and the tone timbre that Flamingo can offer you. And that sort of softness and inner tone texture, and as I said many times so far, that kind of gel-coated or you can call that slight blooming or slight glow of tones that Flamingo is doing. For me, once again, it's a very similar story as it was with C200. With some songs that demand fast pacing, timing and really good kick and punch, I preferred Topping Stack. If I was listening to just soft, jazzy songs with gorgeous female vocals, then I preferred Aune Flamingo. And that would basically be a conclusion of this whole review and video. That Aune Flamingo is not something that I can tell you, wow, this is something that will wipe the floor with competition. But it has several selling points that are really, really strong, because if you happen to seek what Aune is doing best, you might think, wow, this is the best thing on the market that happened at this price point. It offers such a sweet, natural sound. It's still plenty revealing. It has nice, rich tones that are slightly bloomy and glowy. And it just suits my tired ears. You know, maybe you're thinking like, there's noise everywhere. I go to the office, I listen to the traffic, I listen to typing and clicking and people yelling, and when I come home, I just want something that will suit my ears and my brain, and it just cradles me in that nice, natural, rich sounding music. Yeah, you may go for Flamingo and be done with it, because it sounds so musical and satisfying. If you, on the other hand, somebody that's like more clarity, more crispiness, more timing, more drive, some options like Topping Stack, for example, will offer more of that, but without cradling. So that choice is yours, but if you like my weirdly descriptive reviews, then please click that button, subscribe, so this channel can grow and I can review even more stuff that might interest you. Thank you for watching, see you next time, and special thanks to all my patrons. Bye.